Welcome, Patriot Radio operators, to the AmRRON Communications Channel. AmRRON is a Patriot-oriented emergency communications network for disasters and civil defense. Sometimes the term civil defense can be kind of a nebulous term. It essentially means when our nation is in distress and we are responding to a threat other than a natural or even man-made disaster. It's something like an invasion of your country, or when you're under attack, and especially when your conventional communications infrastructure is compromised or unavailable. So right now we're watching the situation unfold in Iran, where the last of the Ayatollah regime is crumbling, and out of desperation, they are responding with lethal force against largely, if not entirely, unarmed citizens who are protesting and demonstrating for freedom, for liberty, to be free from this tyrannous regime. Well, in response, this very desperate regime has cut off all services, communications, power, internet, cellular, the whole infrastructure has shut that down. So that's what I want to talk about today, because there are some lessons learned from this. I think that we should all be paying attention to, because this is a very volatile world that we're living in. I know a lot of people have dismissed radio communications, especially HF communications, because now we have Starlink, and Starlink is the end-all be-all, but it is a plan B. And sometimes plan B can also fail. I have Starlink. You can see my Starlink Mini over my shoulder there, and I'm going to be talking about that and some of the configurations that I have done to it as far as, for off-grid powering that. But I want to talk about Starlink from the angle of how it is being used and what the regime is doing to counter it. Earlier this week, I began getting text messages, and I've been following this very closely. This doesn't seem to be followed very closely. It's just not up on the front radar for most, and it should be for us. So this came out last, I think, Thursday. The Islamic regime has completely shut down the internet in Iran. Iran is disconnected from electricity, internet, cellular. This means there is currently no communications with the protesters and the citizens in Iran. Well, sure enough, NetBlocks reports started coming out, netblocks.org. They map internet outages, particularly when they are deliberately being blocked by, a tyrannous regime. So I think it was last Thursday, by 12 p.m., they had almost zero internet connectivity across the country, most of the country. Well, Starlink to the rescue, right? Mark Levin forwarded a posting. Elon Musk can put the final nail in the coffin of the Iranian regime by providing Starlink internet to the Iranian people. Iran cut off all internet so that the people cannot organize a coup and communicate. Not just conducting a coup, but being able to share the atrocities that they are filming of the Iranian regime gunning people down in the streets. There are thousands, at least 10,000, some estimates up to 20,000 dead Iranian citizens in response to these protests and this uprising. Open source Intel reported on their X account that Iran's internet shutdown, Elon Musk has quietly enabled free Starlink access for protesters, according to people familiar with the matter. The move was implemented several days ago without a public announcement, with protest leaders informed privately. Israeli businessman Dubai Francis raised the issue with Musk's team after an inquiry from Deputy Minister Almog Cohen. Musk committed to keeping the network open at no cost while protests continue and instructed Starlink executives to block regime interference. Well, as much as they could. Now, Starlink receivers or stations have been smuggled into Iran for quite a long time, actually several years now. And many of them, they pay a lot of money for these Starlink receivers. And then they find out they don't have free. They thought they could just turn it on and connect, but it's not free. So they have to pay. And a lot of these accounts are set up and funded, and the payments are being made by supporters outside of Iran to allow the leadership of the freedom movement to be able to communicate. So a lot of them have not been active until just this last week, when they were all activated for the entire region for free. So now all of them are active, and there's estimated to be thousands of them across Iran. Incidentally, somebody said, isn't it just an amazing time when one single man can turn on the internet for an entire region? Well, that's true, and that is amazing, but that one man could also decide to turn it off if he so choose. So keep that in mind. Well, internet connectivity now is exceeded 100 hours as of this recording. Now, this is a very rapidly developing, fluid situation, so I'm bringing you what I know up to this point on Tuesday afternoon, and it's the 13th of January 2026. So they had a 30% loss of internet reported across the country, and suddenly that went to 80%. Now it's nearly 100%. So Elon responded, and here's a video of the Starlink satellites passing over Iran, a whole train of them. No, I don't know if they were rerouted or what, but after the regime almost completely cut off the internet, protesters in Iran thank Elon Musk for the Starlink connection. That was a beautiful thing. Now that Iran has managed to block even Starlink from providing internet access, the massacre of protesters is reaching horrific proportions. This move will either crush the popular uprising or accelerate an American response. This is what they're trying to hide from being reported, the atrocities that are taking place. This is one site where there's bodies there to the left of this picture all over the place. And what Amir Sarfati is reporting on is this story that came out. I picked it up first from Forbes. Now multiple outlets, this is confirmed, multiple outlets are reporting on this. And they titled it, Kill Switch, Iran shuts down Starlink internet for the first time. This is something that we need to think about. If you rely on Starlink, you're relying on someone else's infrastructure. The owner of the infrastructure could decide he doesn't want to let you communicate anymore, or someone else could be targeting it. I plan on doing another Starlink related video talking about some of the vulnerabilities of Starlink and how it is being targeted by our peer adversaries. Russia and China both are developing weapons specifically to target satellite, but they're not even targeting the satellites, they're jamming the signals. And we've not seen this before. With the latest information, we have not seen this before. Iran's digital blackout has now deployed military jammers, reportedly supplied by Russia, to shut down access to Starlink internet. This is a game changer for the Plan B connectivity frequently used by protesters and anti-regime activists when ordinary access to the internet is stopped. So Iran is now hunting down Starlink users. Iran is hunting down Starlink users and confiscating users' terminals, all the while still actively jamming Starlink signals. So they are hunting users of the Starlink terminals using signals intelligence, and besides jamming them. And they're working to try to locate the users of these, and it's horrible what they're doing to them. They're not just treating this, reportedly, the reports that are coming out of there, they're not treating this as like a tech crime, like hacking or something. They're treating this as a national security threat. They're treating it like an enemy operative, like a spy. They're confiscating the gear. They're disappearing the people, and only God knows what's happening to them. I think we can all use our imaginations. This is an evil, vile regime. But let's take a look at some solutions for this. If you're using Starlink and you are in an oppressed area where they are actively jamming the signals, trying to prevent the use of these, they can't jam whole areas. They can also risk jamming themselves or other infrastructure that the regime wants to use. So they are trying to selectively jam, and that's why it's down to about 20% estimated of Starlink devices are usable. So the ones that are, they are hunting for those in especially the larger cities. So it's not clear how Starlink's service was being disrupted by Iran. We don't know the technical details of it, the Times say, but some specialists say it could be the result of jamming of Starlink terminals that would overpower their ability to receive signals from satellites. Well, that's how jamming works. Some commentators on social media have suggested this. Make a note of this. A settings change may overcome some of the restrictions. Per open source intel on X, if you are in contact with anyone in Iran using Starlink, ask them to try enabling the Use Starlink Positioning Exclusively option under the Advanced, and then debug data in the Starlink app. The Starlink app is what you need to use to control this. Another solution, but this is very new, and that's the T-Mobile Direct, T-Mobile to Starlink. Now, they could still do the same thing, jam these signals, and they could try to geolocate the signals from people that are communicating using their, like this new T-Mobile phone that can also send text and soon data, if it's not already available, to Starlink satellites. So this is another really good possible solution, but these are also, I think, even probably more susceptible to jamming. The one advantage to this is everybody has cell phones. So it is, even if the grid's down, everybody has their cell phones and they have them on and they're recording videos and they're doing what they can while the grid's down. So all of these are, putting out, SSIDs, they're putting out MAC addresses, and it's just so much noise among millions of people. It's hard to differentiate, as opposed to the Starlink dishes, those stations, those are a unique set of frequencies, a little easier to track down. So something else to consider for those of us in the military. We understand, shoot, move, communicate. So shoot your signal, send off your video or text or whatever, and then immediately shut it down, relocate, get to another location, and when it's safe to do so, set back up, communicate. If you have something to communicate, make your connection, disconnect, and then start the cycle over again. And also security measures on the ground for those that are using Starlink. This is going to rely on a system of vetted, trusted patriots, because right now the regime is trying to exploit their informant network to try to root out especially leaders in the resistance movement, and particularly those with communications. They're targeting communications, which is nothing new. So for security measures, low tech sometimes beats high tech. Just posting of lookouts in the vicinity of the Starlink users with a set of measures that they can take, just like clicking on the porch light off and on, or the kitchen light in the window, the living room of the apartment, so that others can see if you see one of these electronic ELINT teams, electronics intelligence teams, van, truck, rolling into the area, you can signal to the user to shut down and move. And this was done to a wide degree also in Paris and other places in France and in Europe, where the resistance was using HF radios very, much in the same way. You can just hang a streamer out of the window and then drop the streamer to the ground. The streamer disappears. It's not safe to transmit. Or dropping the streamer or a sheet or some type of banner, some type of visual signal out a window could alert the users it's time to pack up and move out quickly, because you've got signal sniffers in the area. Now, I have a Starlink Mini, as you can see here in the corner behind me. And that is, I believe it's 30 volts. And if you're going to operate off-grid, if they shut down commercial power, you're going to have to run a generator or run an inverter. But if you're on the move in the field, another thing too, the Iranian regime is setting up checkpoints everywhere. It's almost impossible to travel, so they're checking vehicles. So shooting and moving and communicating is complicated by all of the checkpoints that the Iranians have. So you have to get really creative. And some of this movement might have to be done on foot. So you're using car batteries or deep cycle batteries or whatever to power up in a grid down situation. So what I did with mine is I ordered a Starlink Mini 12 volt adapter off of Amazon, and I'll put a link to this device right here. This is the actual one that I purchased. It just arrived yesterday. So it will accept 12 volt or 24 volt in, and then it steps it up to 30 volts, pulling about 3.5 amps DC. Step-up converter for Starlink Mini power supply with female plug. There are a couple of articles that I wanted to point out here before I get into my own Starlink setup that I almost forgot to hit on. But this on post by Mario Nawfal, breaking IRGC now hunting Starlink signals. We should be paying close attention to this. This is a common question that often people ask when we talk about emergency communications for civil defense or SHTF type of operating environment. People often ask, yeah, but can't they jam it? Or, yeah, but can't they locate your signal? Yeah, yes, they can. And sometimes you might be forced into a situation where the risk is a necessary one for you to survive. You have to take the risk. So you have to take precautions to minimize the risk. But anyway, as Iran shuts down the national internet, the hunt for Starlink has begun. Authorized satellite internet is now officially classified as a threat to the state. Possession is treated as a security threat, not a tech violation. During blackouts, any live connection stands out. So true. Right now, it's just pure RF noise in a built-up city area with all of the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and everything. When they shut all that down, boy, it really makes individual signals that have a connection really stand out. When fiber and mobile networks go dark, a Starlink Wi-Fi signal becomes a homing beacon. When Starlink is activated during protests, they mark locations the state assumes are operational. Searches are escalating, checkpoints tightening, informants activated. Hotspots are treated as hostile cells, and the cost is brutal. Absolutely. And I think that's what I was just talking about. But there's another one, I think the Hindustan Times. And let me shrink this down because the ads are just obnoxious. Iran is hunting down Starlink users to stop protest videos from going viral. That's the real danger to this regime, is for propaganda value, revealing what's happening out there. It's astounding. The bodies are literal. I've seen so many videos. I can't even post here videos of bodies stacked up. I mean, we're not even talking body bags. We're just talking about, partially clothed, naked, bloody, dead bodies stacked up that this regime has murdered. Video from the streets is one of the few ways getting information about the scale of protests and actions in authorities. Okay, so with the government shutting down the internet and throttling phone services, Iranians are leaning heavily on Elon Musk's Starlink service to share videos of growing protests and the regime's escalating crackdown with the world. But Iran has intensified efforts to jam the service, which is banned in the country, and users are being hunted. To India today. After the kill switch, Iran raids homes to seize Starlink devices. After using Chinese or Russian military-grade jammers to disrupt Starlink, the Khamenei regime is now raiding homes to seize communication equipment to hide the mass killings in Iran. The government and its loyalists are communicating through a protected whitelist so they can communicate, but the citizens can't, which is just how they want it. Amid the raging anti-Khamenei unrest that's left over 2,000 dead, that number times 10. Tehran's clerical regime is now targeting Elon Musk's Starlink, which was the last source of internet connection for protesting Iranians, days after using the expensive military-grade jammers, reportedly from Russia and China, to partially block the service. Security forces have escalated the crackdown. So they're raiding homes and confiscating Starlink equipment. Weeks into the largest protest in years, a near total internet blackout has cut Iranians off from the outside world. Elon Musk, his Starlink, had become a rare lifeline for sending videos and images abroad. Iran used high-tech jammers to block 80% of Starlink traffic, but is now working on the ground to seize the devices that allowed Iranians to connect with Starlink satellites in the first place. The Khamenei regime is cracking down on Iranians who had relied on the banned Starlink to get the truth out, amid reports of mass casualties in the middle of the digital blackout. This even as the officials and loyalists of the Khamenei regime have shifted to a whitelist network to communicate amongst themselves. So that's what's going on. Now, let me take you back to some of the things that I've done to make the Starlink Mini operational off-grid, because they are targeting certain geographical areas for jamming. These can still be used, but you have to shoot, move, and communicate. So get out of the area if at all possible. And it could take 2 days for you to get to another area where you can safely set up, shoot, and then move again. And then communicate when you can set up and when it's safe to do so, and put security measures in place. Now, the other thought here is a communications network that you don't rely on any infrastructure or any support. They're relying on Elon Musk to provide this communications capability for them. But it goes back again, and I'm going to emphasize this in future, at least a future video or future videos, the importance of having your own independent, over-the-horizon, beyond line-of-sight communications that is not controlled by anyone but you and the guy you're talking to on the other end. Yes, they can be jammed. Yes, they can be located, but there are measures against that to minimize that. And we're talking about a civil defense operating environment where it's absolutely necessary. You're going to die if you don't try to communicate. And then you have to calculate the risk, mitigate the risks, and you still have to get the mission done. So HF radio cannot be replaced, especially since our adversaries are specifically targeting Starlink with weapons that they are developing now to use in the future. So got to have HF comms. Let me show you my setup. Okay, so there it is. This is not fancy, it's functional. Maybe in the future, I'll put together some Pelican cool case and all this integrated, built-in, permanently attached. Who knows? Right now, I keep it in the original Starlink box and everything that I need to support it. And I just carry that with me. It's not my primary source of comms, but it could be. And right now this is functional. So I have a deep cycle battery with a up converter, that buck converter that I showed you that you can see in the picture. And there's the Starlink Mini, I think with a 50-foot cable that comes with it. There it is, all connected. And it comes with a set of pigtails and some like alligator type leads and a banana plug lead. I saved those, but the first thing I did, which I do with everything, is put on Anderson connectors, the black and red connectors there. That's pretty universal in the EMCOM world, emergency communications world. So you'll find that to be pretty universal. It'll operate with other operators that show up, and they've got, you know, Anderson connectors you can plug right in, and it's just a great system. So that's the first thing I do. As you can see here, I have my WhatsApp meter plugged in line. So the 12.04 volts is what my deep cycle battery was at when I connected to it. So down in the lower left-hand corner, I'm pulling about 43 watts on that Starlink dish. And it's at 3.5 amps is how much it's pulling. And there it is, ran outside. Works great. Just set it up on top of the vehicle, point it generally toward the north, and you've got internet. So looking at my de-Googled phone here, you can see there it is. It shows up as Starlink, and it's unprotected right out of the box. And by the way, I have internet connectivity without even activating it. It's $5 a month just to have it on standby, which still allows you to connect and get internet. So you can, even without activating it, you can surf the internet. It's slow, especially some of your bigger bloated web pages, but you can check your email and you can still function. And if you go into your app, you can change the name from Starlink to whatever you want it to be. And then you can add security, add a password, and you can secure it. So right now it's just right out of the box. It just shows up as Starlink, and everybody in the room can connect to it. It's an open network. So I just wanted to take a minute to share some of my thoughts and observations, because I don't see this being discussed a whole lot. And this is something, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we should be sitting up straight and paying attention to this and gleaning lessons learned, especially since so many people are gravitating toward Starlink. Like they don't need any other comms, just Starlink's all you need. But there are some things to factor in. And if you're going to use Starlink in that type of an environment, there are some things to consider, and there are some steps, some measures that you can take. Hey, a couple guys on a handheld radio, just clicking it twice, click, click, 10 blocks away, letting you know the bad guys are coming, lets you know to pack that thing up and move it. But if it's jammed and you can't use it, there are alternatives, and we need to have all of those tools in our tool bag. The Starlink system is the new, resistance HF radio, like the partisans had in World War II. Well, now it's Starlink. So we can see there's nothing that's impervious to attacks or disruptions, and there are some things we need to take into consideration. I'll be talking more about this, and I'll be following this. If anything major that affects us from the point of view of emergency communications, civil defense communications perspective, I'll definitely address it. So I appreciate your comments. Please add your comments. This is a great discussion. I could cover this for 2 hours and all the little nuances surrounding emergency communications in this type of an operating environment. But hopefully this starts the discussion. Post your thoughts and comments or questions down in the comments. And if you like this video, give me a big thumbs up. Appreciate that. Subscribe. And if you feel like it, buy me a cup of coffee. I'm really grateful for those of you who do that. That's what supports the channel and keep this going. All right, guys, you stay safe out there. God bless. Pray for the Republic and get your comms up. This is John Jacob Schmidt, out.